Vice President for Lakemont Neighborhood Association. Can I ask a procedural question?
Yes, you can. I mean, typically we call you up, you give your name and address, and then you go into what you're wanting to discuss.
I've got my presentation to about 4 or 5 minutes. Could I ask a few questions, wait till after that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much. I'm here to talk about restoring Lake Olmstead. Normally, Brooke Buxton gives this presentation. She's our president. She's not here. I want to thank you for putting this on the agenda. I want to thank the Augusta Canal Authority for writing a letter and approving our position, conferring with our position, and for everybody who hung around. I feel qualified to give this presentation on lake restoration. I've got a master's from Clemson in environmental engineering. I've got a professional engineering license, and also I've managed various environmental assessments at Savannah Riverside. The quickest thing I do is just go right to the recommendation that we have and explain it to the presentation. All of the dredging actions that we want to take in Richmond County are through 2 permits that we've submitted to the Corps of Engineers. The first permit deals with Almond Lake and Ayers Pond, and the engineering department did a good job on that. I hope that gets approved soon. We have nothing to add or take away from that. The second permit, however, deals with a number of slideshow. Where's that? Can I hold a little bit more?
We got a second.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. The second permit deals with Lake Olmstead. In particular, the west side of Broad Street, the mouth of the Lake Olmstead coming into the lake from the canal, a 5-acre cove on the southeast portion of the lake, and the arrow on the upper right deals with Lake Warren. Lake Warren being about half of the effort of this permit, half of the cost. In other words, 5% of Lake Olmstead is dealt with this permit. Our recommendation is to ask the Corps of Engineers to let us pull this permit back, modify the scope to include additional areas of Lake Olmstead, look at the impacts of that, and then resubmit to the Corps and enter another 30-day comment period. Let me explain how this would work. A lot of people have fond memories of Lake Olmstead, the type of things we do here with the lake. 100 acres, there's nothing like it. I don't know where else we can have the events that we do. As recent as 1993, we've had competitive rowing, competitive skiing. People used to pay money to go see those events. But the fact is that those events have been diminishing. And what we'd like to do is to bring those events back. We see our national heritage area serving a multi-purpose venue. A lot of people come to the lake to go fishing, just like the ESI Ironman, just like bike races downtown. We could bring other events to Lake Olmstead. There's no other place to really do that in Richmond County. I've been a race director. I know that I could bring an open water swim meet, a regional event, to Lake Olmstead and make that a revenue generator for the city. My challenge is that if you walk around the perimeter of the lake, it'd be very obvious why that isn't possible right now. There are areas, and I'll let the pictures do the talking. This would be the boat ramp where people would enter into the river, for example, if I use open water swim competitions. This is the boat dock. This is a typical photo of the perimeter. This is very congested, but there's 2 main storm sewer outfalls that have got a lot of silt and a lot of growth and debris along the perimeter. This is an example of the hyacinth that grows and dies every year and creates a lot of sludge along the perimeter. We don't say this because we guess. We've been in it. We've done cleanups along the lake as far as the Lake Montana Association is concerned, and there's a lot of sludge that should be removed. This is the code that is part of the permit. You see the contrast from 1997 to 2011. There's no doubt it needs to be cleaned out. The Canal Authority has some wonderful ideas, and we fully endorse them. Another code, an eyeshot, is just as bad or maybe even worse. It's not addressed in the permit. And brings me back to where I started. Our recommendation is to pull the permit associated with associated with Lake Olmstead, work with engineering, expand the scope to include the important areas on a holistic level of the lake, determine the impacts, and then resubmit. I've spoken with the Corps of Engineers. They would be amenable to this. I spoke to the project manager for this. It's certainly nothing in writing that they would agree to this, but they were conducive to the idea.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, let me give you, I guess, a little bit of the history of how all of this pretty much came about. Initially, the first lake to be dredged was Warren Lake, and that was back in 2006 when it was funded. I believe it was about close to $2 million that was used to fund Warren Lake. Probably about a couple of years after that, there were some concerns and talk about other lakes and ponds. Lake Olmstead was one, Harris Pond, and Lake Holmes. So we spoke to the Corps on numerous occasions. As a matter of fact, we met with them on several occasions in Savannah. And there, they actually recommended that we put all of the lakes and the ponds under one umbrella, one permit. So that's basically how we got. A lot of people had concerns on why we're doing Lake Holland and Harris Pond, and we're taking funds off of Lake Olmstead from those projects. But that's not the case. The actual funds are actually coming off of Warren Lake. No funds have been spent off of Lake Olmstead. And like I said, the whole purpose was the Corps recommended that we put all of those as one permit. It'll be easier for them. So this is going to give you some the background that let me get the right conversation.
I'm meeting one of the Assistant Director of Engineering. Yes, I mean, they insure us. We've been meeting with them almost 3 years. And it took us 3 years to get where we are. When we need them to obviously, when it comes to actual action, it always takes time. So unless they're willing to give us in writing, I mean, given my experience and our consultant experience, it's not going to be easy to modify the permit.
It's not going to be?
I mean, not easy to get it modified and get it processed in a timely fashion. We're going to delay maybe another year, year and a half.
So that's why that's basically what he's saying. That's why it's probably pertinent that we actually proceed with the ongoing permit, and then in the meantime work on amending it.
All right. So my last question, because I know we got some people here that are concerned about the upper end of Lake Olmstead and also Harris Lake and Lake Almond. How much stuff are we going to remove from Lake Almond? What depth are we going to take Lake Almond to?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much material we actually have to remove. It may be more cleaning than actual removal on Lake Almond.
Well, I guess what I'm terribly concerned about is we got money and we've applied for a permit, but we don't know how much material we're going to remove from Lake Almond or from Hires Pond. And it would seem to me that if we're going to spend money, then we ought to know how much we're taking out, because we got to know where we're going to put it. You just talked about space. Those would seem to be some things that we need to know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we do have estimated numbers, and the permit is 36,000 cubic yards.
From
Lake Almond.
From Lake Almond.
Yes, sir.
And how
Around
many?
27,
And how
yeah,
much?
24,000 cubic yards from Hires Pond.
Okay, so that's 60,000, as I understand. And how much is that going to cost us?
Around total 2 million because we have a different method of dredging. We have no area to dispose to that material.
So then we go to, but we don't know how much material we're going to remove from Lake Olmstead. Do you have some figure to that?
Yes, sir. Right now, our permit, I believe, is 37 and 35,000 cubic yards from the lower lake, and about 109,000 cubic yards from the upper lake, which is nothing but all figured up.
So 3 times the amount from the upper end as from the lower end.
That's correct.
And how much is that going to cost us? I see our consultant back there.
Yeah, different right. Assuming the Corps will let us use the bar area, that's a big assumption. We're waiting to hear from the Corps whether they will go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Avian. I know that y'all have worked desperately with us to try to get a solution. This has been a big concern for Mary and Bill and myself and the Neighborhood Association. I just ask that you keep lines of communication open with us and with Kim and his group to let's have a monthly meeting, Kim, with y'all so that y'all can be in the loop and let's try to keep this on pace. I don't know that we have the money at this point to do everything right now, but we're certainly looking. We met while y'all were here earlier. We met with John Barra to see if we could get some federal money. So our goal is the same, Kim. It's just how we get there.
If we get this permit approved, there's actually no regulatory way that we could do anything but that one code in Lake Olmstead. And to think we can go back and amend it in any type of short order is quite an assumption. I know it's painful to pull it back. I don't know how the scope was developed, and maybe I was sleeping that day or whatever, but we're in a public comment period with the Corps of Engineers right now for this environmental assessment of the lake. And February 18th, that comment period ends. As a Lake Neighborhood Association, we might very well just say we request a public hearing on this matter, and then request 6 months to develop a legal position and a standing. And we're thinking we could probably work with the group here and modify it in our own house. So I'm asking for the recommendation to pull that one permit.
AnibalShow.com.
AnibalShow.com.